Today, the conservation of biological and landscape diversity has been recognized by the majority of scientists of the world, one of the top priority issues of the 21st century. To successfully address this issue, it is necessary to secure the protection and recovery of the most important ecosystems. This film tells how these issues are being addressed with the financial support from international organizations.
И разбудят меня, позовут журавлиные крики над моим чердаком, над болотом, забытым вдали.
Водно-болотные угодья.
The wetlands. This is an amazing, precious and quite vulnerable ecosystem of the nature. Our Belarus is generously blessed with mires. Around 10% of the world's freshwater resources are concentrated in the wetlands. These are among the major absorbers of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and this is how they mitigate the negative consequences of the global warming. They play an essential part in forming the hydrologic regime and the climate of a region, and are of utmost significance for the conservation of biodiversity. The importance of the wetlands could not be overstated.
Трудно переоценить. Белорусское Полесье.
The Belarusian Polesie is a marvelous land and a unique natural corner spanning many kilometers along the southern border of Belarus. Polesie became known worldwide due to its primeval nature, untouched river floodplains, unique flood meadows and oak forests, the last fen mires in Europe, where rare and threatened animals and plant species still survive. The main waterway of Polesie is the Pripyat River, two-thirds of which, about 500 kilometers, flow through the territory of Belarus. Polesie. The territories adjacent to the Pripyat River and its floodplain are unparalleled in Europe. The unique fen mires in the floodplain of the Belarusian part of Pripyat and its tributaries are the most important habitat for the endangered biological species. The region harbors a lot of plants and animals, many of which are listed in the Red Book of the Republic of Belarus and need our protection. This is exactly why the nature of Polesie is of high importance for the conservation of biodiversity.
Биоразнообразие. Еще в начале прошлого века,
as early as the beginning of the previous century, Polesie was the land of impossible bogs, and most of the time it was only possible to move around by water.
Однако порой не совсем продуманное хозяйство.
But human activity affected this unique land.
Этот уникальный край. Осушитель,
drainage reclamation,
польдеры и сооружения,
polders and flood protection facilities, devastation of natural floodplain oak forests, artificial pine plantations, intensive peat extraction, all these led to the situation when the unique natural complexes characteristic for the Pripyat Polesie were preserved mostly in the special protected natural areas.
Природных территориях. Нерациональная деятельность человека.
Unsustainable human activity also greatly damaged the fauna of the Belarusian Polesie. The disturbance and destruction of the natural habitats of animals and birds resulted in the threatening decline of the population of many animals. And besides, this is also a most important ecological corridor for many plants and animal species in the center of Europe. It is here where the two major routes of the mass migration of birds cross, from the north to the south and from the east to the west. In the western part of Polesie lies the water divide between the Black and the Baltic Sea.
Следует добавить, что основные...
The fen mires, preserved in their natural condition in the mid-Pripyat area, are the main locations for nesting of a great number of rare bird species and require special protection.
нуждаются в особой охране. С 2006 года
Since 2006, a UN development program, Global Environment Facility Technical Assistance Project, catalyzing sustainability of the wetland protected area system in Belarusian Polesie through increased management efficiency and realigned land use practices, has been implemented in the Republic of Belarus.
Полесский регион
The Polesie region was far from a random choice for the implementation of this project. Considering its environmental significance for the conservation of the landscape and biological diversity, it, without exaggeration, can be brought into line with the world-known protected natural areas. Project activities are implemented at the Republican Natural Reserves, which are key bird areas and Ramsar sites. The national implementing agency is the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environmental Protection of the Republic of Belarus. The project is implemented in cooperation with the national authorities, local administrative bodies, land users, and certainly with active involvement of the local population.
основная задача
The main goal of the project is to enhance the capacity of the Republic of Belarus to conserve biological and landscape diversity harbored in the protected areas of the region. The project aims to enhance the management efficiency of these areas while at the same time integrating nature conservation concerns in agricultural, forestry and flood protection activities.
Для того, чтобы сохранить уникальный Полесский регион,
In order to preserve the unique Polesie region, the government of Belarus established a network of natural reserves, which, among others, encompasses Republican reserves Sporovsky, Svanets, Mid-Pripyat and Prostor. By the resolutions of the Council of Ministers of the Republic of Belarus, restrictions and bans were imposed on some economic activities.
к сожалению,
Unfortunately, these measures could not fully eliminate the threats that the nature of Polesie is facing. By far, environmental concerns have not fully balanced the economic goals in the region. For example, agricultural enterprises continue intensive cultivation of intertilled crops on the exhausted peat soils, which are low productive. The plans for the organization and implementation of forestry activities of the region's forestries require that nature conservation specifics of the region be taken into account. In the course of flood protection of settlements and cultivated lands, not enough attention was paid to the necessity of the conservation of biological and landscape diversity. The local population, for whom hunting and fishing for centuries had been additional and sometimes the main source of subsistence, continued to illegally pursue their trades. And non-organized tourism often resulted in the pollution of the river and lake banks.
У Республики Беларусь
Belarus did not have sufficient experience of the practical integration of the biological and landscape conservation goals into the economic activity on a sustainable basis. Today, the issue on the sustainable operation of the wetland reserves is especially urgent in the Pripyat region and the Republic on the whole.
Полесья и в республике в целом. Поиск пути.
The project primarily aims to find a way to address these issues.
Благодаря помощи предоставленной
Thanks to the assistance provided to the Republic of Belarus by the UN Development Programme and Global Environment Facility, as well as the British Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, project catalyzing sustainability of the wetland protected area system in Belarusian Polesie through increased management efficiency and realigned land use practices has been implemented. The project facilitated the preparation of the state program for the development of natural reserves, the Ramsar Convention strategy and action plans, management plans for the Mid-Pripyat and Prostor reserves. Management plans for the Sporovsky and Zvanets reserves have been revised. Management units of the three most important reserves of the Belarusian Polesie region have been established. Monitoring the state of the ecosystems of the protected areas has been organized and is being implemented. The transboundary Ramsar site Prostor Pripyat Stohit has been established along the Belarusian-Ukrainian border. All these activities allowed establishing the organizational and the legal basis for the effective protection of the landscape and biological diversity of the Belarusian Polesie.
Кроме того,
Besides, in the course of the project, the activities on the improvement of the hydrologic regime of the Zvanets Reserve were performed. This entailed the construction of stone dikes, sluices, embankments, tube regulators and tube crossings in the area of over 16,000 hectares. This is currently one of the few attempts in Europe to perform such important and complicated work, aiming to conserve the plants and animals' habitats on such a vast territory. Cutting bushes and reed mowing on floodplain meadows, and all this is done to recover the habitats of the globally threatened bird species, the most famous of which is the aquatic warbler in the Sporovsky and Mid-Pripyat reserves.
наиболее известный из которых – вертлявая камышовка.